My name is Juliet Eilprin. I'm the national environmental reporter for the Washington Post and the author of Demon Fish: Travels Through the Hidden World of Sharks. This is a book that really explores the human-shark relationship. People always think of sharks being dangerous, but so are we, and it's looking at how our relationship with sharks has evolved and changed over time, how we used to worship them, then came to loathe them, and now we're trying to renegotiate this kind of relationship and see whether there's room on the planet for both sharks and humans. If sharks disappear, it would have profound ecological ramifications. Sharks are one of the top predators in the ocean, and in doing so, they help keep these systems in balance. They really make sure that mid-level predators don't get out of control, and they also remove the weak and the sick from the system, which is incredibly important in terms of keeping coral reefs vibrant and keeping the system going. So we certainly know that in the areas where sharks dominate, the ocean is the healthiest, and in areas where they're depleted, the ocean is suffering some serious consequences. Sharks weren't sought out by the West for quite a long time, and so they weren't subject to the same fishing pressure as other species. But what happened is that there was both the fact that industrial fishing expanded, and as a result, sharks were being caught by accident in huge numbers, millions a year, when, for example, vessels were actually targeting tuna and swordfish. In addition, what really happened in Asia is that the Chinese, which had coveted shark's fin soup as a delicacy, where they take the needles from a shark's fin and turn it into noodles for the soup, it was an elite dish for centuries, but became quite popular in the late 1980s and 1990s. This has really ratcheted up the pressure on sharks, and now scientists estimate that anywhere from between 26 and 73 million sharks a year worldwide are caught just for their fins. Estimates are that between 80 to 100 million sharks a year are killed. We don't have precise estimates on this, and I think it's important to know that it's certainly tens of millions of sharks are caught each year. And while we don't know the exact numbers, what we do know is sharks are very vulnerable to this kind of fishing pressure because they take a long time to mature sexually, and then they don't produce that many offspring. So regardless of the number, there's no question that shark populations across the world are on the decline. And at this point, something like 1/3 of all shark species are in danger of extinction. The thing that surprised me the most when I was researching this book is the fact that there is an evolutionary connection between humans and sharks. If you look at the bones in our inner ear or the muscles that we use to chew and to talk, those came from sharks. And so I think that, while people are kind of just getting comfortable with the idea that we might be descended from primates, it's a real mind-blowing conception to think that we actually have some ancestry that we share with sharks. And in fact, scientists have looked at the genome of an elephant shark and detected that there are similar elements in their genes and in ours. When Jaws came out and was a bestseller in 1974 and then a blockbuster movie in 1975, there's no question that it reinforced the fear that anyone could be vulnerable to sharks when they went to the beach. And in fact, after that came out, you really did see an expansion of recreational fishing targeting sharks. So it did strike fear into the hearts of not only many Americans, but people worldwide, that sharks were on the hunt for humans. And it's worth noting that Peter Benchley really worked later in life to kind of counteract this pressure and this myth. He became an incredible ocean conservationist and tried to emphasize that sharks did not intentionally hunt humans. But he was such a skilled writer, and it was such a powerful movie, that the image remains in many people's minds. One thing that you see across many island cultures is that there are different societies that worship sharks throughout time. In terms of an ancient society, when you look at Hawaii, it has incredible creation myths and different myths surrounding sharks. And so I found the most elaborate and fascinating tales when you look at Hawaii, and the idea they even had these shark deities that would protect individual families. Now, when you look at the present day, I was most taken by shark collars in Papua New Guinea. There are these remote villagers in New Ireland and on the coast of Papua New Guinea who, to this day, worship sharks, see them as connected to their ancestors, and hunt them with ancient fishing methods. And so that's really an incredible and living legacy we have of faith traditions regarding sharks. I've had an incredible time on the book tour. One of the things I hadn't really thought about when I was writing the book is that I get to go to the coasts, and that's been fantastic. So I've gone on the East Coast, the West Coast. I'm going to start doing some interior stops in places like Denver, Madison, elsewhere. But I have to say, I love being by the sea, and it's really interesting to see how different people feel about sharks, that you might get a different reaction when you're in Martha's Vineyard or when you're in Seattle or Portland or here in Santa Cruz. And so I think getting a sense of how people relate differently to the ocean and to sharks has been one of the most exciting parts of this book tour. I think we're at this pivotal moment where people are reassessing what they think of sharks, and I'm certainly hoping that my book adds to that debate and just essentially makes people take a second look at sharks, and they can decide what they want. But I think it's worth, even someone, whether you're an expert or whether you're a novice when it comes to ocean issues, you can read this book and understand sharks in a different way, and that's really what I'm hoping I accomplish.